What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel, and it has been a really long time since I last uploaded a video since the NBA Finals, but NBA offseason's been going. Summer League just ended. The Cavs won the Summer League championship, but NFL preseason is just a few weeks away. I haven't really been posting that much NFL content, but stuff is starting to pick up, and in this video specifically, I wanted to talk about the headlines that are being made of the running back position. So if you guys didn't know, on Monday, it was the franchise tag deadline for guys who got franchise tagged to sign long-term deals with their teams. So 3 guys, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard, all got franchise tagged by their respective teams, and none of them secured long-term contracts on Monday by the deadline. And it sent a lot of people, including the guys themselves, into a frenzy because people were mad about it. Fans, players, running backs all over social media were saying stuff about it. Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, all those guys were very vocal about their contemporaries not getting paid. And so I really just wanted to talk about my thoughts on the running back position and why these guys aren't getting paid. So when you look at a guy like Saquon Barkley, who had 1,300 yards last year and 10 touchdowns, a bounce back season from a year before where he struggled a lot to get yards on the ground, and then the year before that where he tore his ACL and only played 2 games. Look at a guy like Josh Jacobs, who led the league in rushing last year, over 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns on the ground. Tony Pollard, who looked like the best running back on the Cowboys the last 2 seasons when Ezekiel Elliott and his play was starting to decline. If you look at Tony Pollard's numbers, he had a 1,000-yard season, and he averaged over 5 yards per carry. So if you think about it, you need 10 yards to get a first down, right? The Cowboys give the ball to Tony Pollard. He's getting at least 5 yards every time he touches it. It's just such an explosive player, super hard to tackle. All these guys in their own right are super good. They have great skill sets, and it is an issue that running backs aren't getting paid. It is an issue that is definitely worth talking about because you don't really see this with other positions. Quarterbacks are getting paid through the roof right now. Wide receivers are getting extensions. Defensive guys are getting extensions. But why is it that running backs are having so much trouble getting those long-term contract extensions? And it's not just these guys. It's guys in the past that struggled to secure long-term deals. You look at famous running back holdouts like Le'Veon Bell with the Steelers. Le'Veon Bell held out from Pittsburgh and then eventually left the team and signed a contract with the New York Jets that was actually less than what the Steelers had offered him. I think the Steelers offered him like a 5-year, $70 million deal or something like that. And he ended up signing with the Jets on a shorter contract for less money. And James Conner came in and took his spot, and they looked just fine at the running back position. You look at the Dallas Cowboys with Ezekiel Elliott. His running back holdout was one of the more notable ones. One, because it's a Cowboys, so obviously guys are going to be much more tuned in. And he was the most productive running back in the league at the time of his holdout. Rookie year, led the league in rushing. Second year, got suspended 6 games, still had a very great season. Came back the following season, led the league in rushing again. So 2 out of his first 3 years in the league, he led the NFL in rushing yards. And after that season, he decided to hold out with multiple years left on his contract because he felt that he was due for an extension. He held out all the way into training camp, and before, I think it was actually maybe after the first few weeks of the season, I don't remember whether or not he got the extension before or after the season started, Jerry Jones caved and gave him a 6-year, $90 million contract extension, which really, in my opinion, honestly just ruined the running back market because you see all these guys that are struggling to get contracts now. You look at another guy like Melvin Gordon, who had a very productive, I think it was his final season with the Chargers. I think they were still in San Diego at that point too. Very productive season. The Chargers chose not to give him a contract, and he ends up going to the Broncos and signs a very cheap deal. He's actually one of the guys that never really got his big payday. He goes to the Broncos, signs a deal for like $2.5 million, I think, which is, of course, in NFL world, that isn't a lot of money. In the real world, it obviously is. But we haven't heard much from Melvin Gordon. He wasn't the same player. Look at a guy like Todd Gurley, who signed a contract extension with the Rams, one of the best running backs in the league before that extension, and injuries just caught up to him, and now he's out of the league. So I think the main problem with the running back position is that teams aren't struggling to find replacements for these guys that are demanding these big, lucrative contracts. Tony Pollard came in and did just fine when Zeke wasn't looking like himself. I mentioned James Conner before with Le'Veon Bell. Austin Eckler was undrafted. He wasn't even drafted, and he came into the Chargers, and he's better than Melvin Gordon ever was. So I think the way the running back position has evolved and the way guys are getting better, teams are sort of using that as an excuse, and the results of previous holdouts for guys like Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, and how those situations turned out, and they're deciding, hey, we don't really need to pay these guys. And it definitely is an interesting situation to think about. Are Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, are they going to hold out? I don't think Tony Pollard's going to hold out. I'm not really sure who's going to hold out, but it's definitely a very unique situation to follow. And you look at a guy like Dalvin Cook, who just got cut a month ago by the Vikings, and he's still unsigned, and he had a very productive season last year with Minnesota. 1,000-yard rusher, 8 touchdowns, very productive. The running back position it's kind of scary for these guys right now because they seem to be putting in all this work on the field and they can't get paid. But at the same time, I look at the teams and I honestly don't really blame them for not wanting to pay running backs, because you look at how you can find a guy in the late rounds of the draft or even undrafted, and he can come in and give you not the same amount of production, but production that's good enough to keep your offense going. You look at the Chiefs, who had Isaiah Pacheco, who I believe was a 7th-round draft pick, came in and gave them great play from the running back position after Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who they had picked in the 1st round, didn't look the same. I think he wasn't even getting touches when they saw that Pacheco was giving them great production out of the position. And so, yeah, let me know what you guys think about the running back position. Let me know, are the players getting screwed? Are running backs devalued? Do you sort of side with the teams in that it's just not smart to give running backs big money, because we've seen in the past how it doesn't work out? There's definitely two sides to the debate, and I think there's people, from what I've been seeing, most people are siding with the players on this, and that running backs need to get paid, and they're not really getting their justice right now at the position. And so the next thing I want to talk about, I want to switch to the NBA, because there's not really much going on in the NBA right now. But Damian Lillard rumors are kind of annoying right now because he wants to go to the Miami Heat. We all know he only wants to go to the Heat. He's saying that his agent apparently is saying if he gets traded to another team, he's not going to suit up. He won't play, which doesn't really sound like Damian Lillard to me, because based off of what we've seen in his stint with the Blazers, he's a guy who wants to compete, ultimate professional. So I'm not really sure if I would see him holding out of training camp. Is it going to be like a Ben Simmons situation if the Blazers decide that they don't really like an offer, they're just not going to trade him at all, and then Damian Lillard's not going to play? My guess is that won't happen, because I just don't see Damian Lillard doing something like that. And so I guess what I want to talk about with this is that if the Heat do trade for Dame, are they the best team in the East? I still think it's no. I would still put them either at the 3rd or 4th best team. I would still pick Milwaukee over them healthy in a series. I know the Heat just beat them in 5, but I'm sorry. Giannis only played 2 full games. I'm not going to sit here and say that I think the Heat would have won that series if the Bucks were fully healthy. I'm sorry. I just don't think they would have won that series either way. Call me a hater, whatever. That's just what I think. The Celtics, I'm not sure they're still better than Boston. Boston brought in Kristaps Porzingis. If that move works well, the Celtics are going to be very good next year, even though they lost some key defenders in Grant Williams and Marcus Smart. And they might be the 3rd best team in the East, because I'm not really sure what's going on with the Sixers. Is James Harden going to be there next year? He wants to go to the Clippers. Joel Embiid, he plays great in the regular season, but you can ultimately never really trust him to replicate that production in the postseason. And so I still think Miami is in that same place that they were entering the season. They're like the third or 4th best team in the East. It's honestly a toss-up between them and the Sixers for that 3rd spot. But Damian Lillard would definitely solve a glaring problem that the Heat have, in that they don't have another scorer who can match Jimmy Butler shot for shot. Jimmy Butler, Miami's offense in the playoffs last year, and what got them to the finals was really just Jimmy Butler going crazy, and then the role players found themselves and started hitting a bunch of threes, which is not what they were doing in the regular season. They were one of the worst offensive and 3-point shooting teams in the regular season, and it's kind of hard to imagine how they even made the playoffs. But I definitely think Damian Lillard would be an upgrade for them. I still, like I said, I wouldn't definitively pick the Heat over the Celtics or the Bucks if both of those teams are healthy. And so let me know what you guys think about that situation. I'm honestly kind of tired of the rumors, because before it was Dame under no circumstances wants to go to another team. He wants to stay loyal to the Blazers. He wants to win in Portland. If he doesn't win, he says he would rather not win a championship in Portland for his entire career than go to another team, a super team, than win championships there. I don't really get it. And then when they draft Scoot Henderson with the 3rd overall pick, he changes his mind and now he wants to get traded, but he only wants to go to Miami, nowhere else. And so the same rumors are going on over and over again, basically that the Blazers don't like any of Miami's offers. They're trying to offer Tyler Hero and some picks. I think Portland wants to get a 3rd team involved because they don't really need guards. They have Scoot Henderson, they have Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe is a guy who's in development. So the Blazers aren't just going to give him up for nothing, because they're trying to rebuild and they want to get assets that are going to help them do that. And if they don't think Tyler Hero is good enough, if Tyler Hero and some picks aren't good enough, they're not just going to take that. And I honestly salute them for that, because they're already accommodating Damian Lillard's request to get traded to another team. And I think him being so specific with the team he wants to go to, I only want to go to Miami, it kind of puts the Blazers in a pickle. And so they shouldn't just take whatever offer the Heat give them because Damian Lillard wants to go to Portland. They should take an offer that makes sense for them and that will help them long term to rebuild. So yeah, let me know what you guys' thoughts are on Dame, his situation in Portland. If he ends up in Miami, do you think the Heat will be the favorites in the East? And let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the running back position. Are they being treated unfairly, or are the teams just trying to be smart financially and not make a big investment into a position that seems to be very replaceable in today's NFL? So yeah, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and find the rest of my content linked in the description.